What's going on, guys? Victor here with yet another brand new video, and this is going to be another fight that I'm going to be talking about on this UFC Fight Night from Las Vegas inside of the UFC Apex facility. And yes, this is going to be the same fight night. It's going to be headlined by two heavy-handed heavyweights, Augusto Sakai and Jairzinho Rozenstruik. And the fight I'm going to be talking about is another heavyweight matchup that's basically a sleeper on this fight card, if you ask me. It's going to be Tanner Boser, who is 19-7-1 in the UFC with 10 KOs versus Ilir Latifi from Sweden, who is 15-8 in his whole entire career, 6 knockouts and 4 submissions, 10 finishes in total out of his 15 wins. So this is going to be a very, very interesting fight, if you ask me, because this is going to be Latifi's second fight as a heavyweight. Obviously, we all know him as a light heavyweight. He used to be a light heavyweight prospect and a former contender in that light heavyweight division until a couple of losses basically forced him to move up a weight class for a fresh start, and also so he doesn't have to be cutting so much weight because he was considered a big lightweight. Not because of his height, but because of his build, for crying out loud. And his last 3 fights obviously were against Derek Lewis. That was the fight that welcomed him into the UFC heavyweight division. Not the best fight that you want to be taking, but in a lot of people's eyes, including mine, he won that fight. He had a lot of wrestling, but the problem with the wrestling is that he got the takedowns, but he didn't dish out any damage. And when you get takedowns in the UFC or in any other MMA promotion, and you don't inflict any damage while you have them on the ground, they're really not going to count that takedown as being something that's seriously going to impact the fight in case it does go into a decision later on. And as a result of that, he lost the fight. But I still thought he won the fight either way. A lot of people did, a lot of people did not. But it is what it is. His fight before that was against Volkan Oezdemir. He got knocked out. And then his fight before that was against Corey Anderson, who he lost to via unanimous decision. So there is a lot riding on the line when it comes to Ilir Latifi. He needs another one because he's lost his last 3 in a row. Even though his last fight was very, very close, he needs another one. And I know he's in a new division, but if you lose 4 in a row in the UFC, you tend to get cut. So this is going to be a very serious fight for him. And Tanner Boser is no joke. Like I said, the guy has finished many, many people in the past. His last fight was a loss against Andrei Arlovski. Not the guy you really want to lose to, because Andrei has been around the UFC since the early 2000s, even before the year 2000, I believe. So he's been around for a very long, very, very long time. He's been around for about 20 years. So obviously, if you're a fresh face in the UFC and you're a prospect such as Tanner Boser, you're trying to basically climb up the ranks of the heavyweight division, which is getting stacked and even more stacked with additions such as Tom Aspinall and Chris Dawkins. You know, you're just going to be left in the dust if you're losing individuals such as Andrei Arlovski, who is basically getting closer and closer retiring in the future. It's not a good look. So you're going to want to go into your next fight with a lot of motivation and a lot of bad intentions on trying to end the fight. And if there's one thing about Ilir Latifi, is that he's a very, very great wrestler. He's a good wrestler. Majority of the people in Sweden, especially the people that he works with over in All Stars in Stockholm, including one of his main training partners, Hamzat Chimaev, he knows a lot of wrestling. And he's got a lot of bodies over there to train with, including Alexander Gustafsson. There's a lot of guys that he can be able to wrestle with. There's a lot of guys that he's already wrestled with and improve his wrestling to the point of it being at the elite level. And if I'm Ilir Latifi, I've been knocked out and I've been taking a lot of damage in the last couple of fights. I'm going to want to go for the takedown as fast as I possibly can. Tanner Boser has 10 plus knockouts in his record, and he's not going to want to engage in a firefight with Tanner Boser, who's knocked out plenty of people out in the past. And if I'm Tanner Boser, I'm going to watch out for those takedown attempts, and I'm going to want to keep constant movement. I'm also going to want to move to the left and right. That way I'm confusing Latifi, and Latifi's not going to have a clear angle to get a takedown on. I'm also going to try to throw some jabs in there as well and use the distance. If there's one thing that Tanner Boser is going to have an advantage on, it's going to be his height advantage. He has a 5-inch height advantage over Ilir Latifi, who's usually had to deal with that disadvantage for the majority of his whole entire career. So if I'm Tanner Boser, I'm going to use my height advantage to the absolute max. I'm going to use my reach advantage as well. He does have a reach advantage, but it's basically just 2 inches, which is pretty much not that much, but we'll take whatever we can get. So if I'm Tanner Boser, I'm going to just keep the distance. I'll pump my jabs in, some nice combinations, some 1-2s, some 3-4s, or basically a 3-5. Any type of combinations and any type of jabs that can be able to keep your distance away from Ilir Latifi. And if I'm Ilir Latifi, I'm going to try to get the takedown. I want to bring this fight to the center of the octagon because you're trying to get a takedown and your opponent basically falls, well, not really falls back, but if you're trying to get a takedown, try to go in for attempts, say this is going to be a double leg takedown or a single leg takedown, and your opponent has their back against the fence, that fence is helping your opponent out when it comes to preventing the takedown. It makes it that much harder to try to get a takedown. So if you're going to try to get a takedown on your opponent, then you want to make sure that they're in the middle of the cage, the middle of the octagon. That way, when you take them down, they're in the middle of the octagon. There's no fence protecting them. There's nothing, just the air. And it makes it that much harder for them to get back up because the fence usually helps a lot of people when they're down get back up because they usually they use both their hands and scooch themselves against the fence. And after they have their backs against the fence, they usually try to bend their knees and use their feet to get back up into the basically get back up on their feet. So if you're going to try to get a takedown, if I'm Ilir Latifi and he's most likely going to use his wrestling, he's going to try to get these takedowns or these takedown attempts in the middle of the octagon. Don't try taking someone down when they're near the fence because that fence is going to help them prevent the takedown. So always get the takedown in the middle of the octagon because it makes it that much harder for your opponent to defend, that much harder for them to get back up once you take them down. And if I'm Ilir, who has 4 submissions in his whole entire career, I'm going to try to use my Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu to the best of my ability and submit Tanner Boser because I believe he is going to have a disadvantage on the feet. And like I said, this is his second fight at heavyweight. So he is a powerful individual, Ilir Latifi is, but will he be powerful enough to knock out Tanner Boser? There's always a possibility. But Tanner Boser, in my opinion, is going to have more power, and he's going to be hard to take down if he tried taking him down against the fence. If I'm Tanner Boser, I'm going to keep this fight on the feet the majority of the time. And if Ilir tries going in for that takedown, I'm going to sprawl, and I'm going to get those elbows and just dig him in to the side of his face as many times as possible. We've seen this in many fights, and people have been knocked out with these type of elbows to the side of the face, trying to go in for a double leg takedown or single leg takedown for many, many years and for many, many fights. So that's just one way that Tanner Boser can be able to protect the takedown attempts. And if I'm also Tanner Boser, I'm going to use my leg kicks. Look, if you have a height advantage, a 5-inch height advantage, try going for some roundhouse kicks. Try going for some calf kicks. Try going for some inside knees inside of the clinch. Do whatever you need to do. But if he can get some nice head kicks in there, which he definitely can, he just needs to set them up. Everything needs to be set up when it comes to the fight game because if you're not set up, then you're not prepared. If you're not prepared, then everything is going to come out sloppy. So at the end of the day, if I'm Tanner Boser, use that height advantage and try to get a nice head kick in there. If not, try to get some knees in there inside of the clinch in case there's a dirty boxing scenario. But it's going to be an interesting fight. This is one of the sleepers on the night. It is in the prelims. It's not on the main card, so it's definitely one of the best fights you're going to see on the prelims, and I can't wait. If you ask me who's going to win this fight, I'm going to give my prediction right now, and I say I'm going to give it to Ilir Latifi. Like I said, he's got 3 losses in a row. He needs another win. If not, then he's most likely in serious danger of getting cut by the UFC. So you're going to need to get the victory. I think he gets it. I think he gets this fight to the ground because Tanner Boser really isn't that well known to be a good grappler or a good wrestler. But I believe Ilir Latifi is going to use this wrestling to his advantage, get him on the ground, and possibly finish this fight via ground and pound. But I do believe that if the ground pound doesn't work, he gets this fight. He finishes his fight with a submission. I say rear naked choke. And which round? I say second round. I say this happens in the second round. So I'm going with Ilir Latifi rear naked choke victory in the second round over Tanner Boser, who's been 2-2 in his last 4 fights. He's a little bit up and down, but he's still a very, very dangerous fighter in that heavyweight division, and he likes to stay active as well. So Tanner Boser, you can't sleep on him, even though your Ilir Latifi used to be a former UFC light heavyweight contender in that 205 division, which is extremely stacked right now. Moving up to heavyweight, getting your second fight. You got to make an impression on the boss, especially if Dana White is going to be there. Because if you get a good win, then you're going to have another fight in the UFC. Winning solves everything at the end of the day. Losing solves absolutely nothing, and it gets you cut. And you're basically having to go back to the drawing board and basically starting over from square one. So I appreciate you guys for watching this video. I hope you liked it. If you didn't, just let me know if anything I can be able to fix in the future. Who do you guys think is going to win this matchup? And if are there any other fights on this card, prelims, early prelims, main card, that you think is going to be a sleeper just like this one? Appreciate you guys for watching this video. Stay safe, stay blessed, enjoy your weekends, guys. Later.